Okay, everyone, it's officially 8:30 p.m. My name is Ron. I'm an alcoholic. How you doing? Welcome home. Welcome to the annual July 5th celebration. Hope you guys are having a beautiful holiday weekend. I want to first thank everybody for all the food they brought. It's amazing over there. If you didn't get any of the lobster and the steak, you had to get here early. Anyway, we're going to have some fun with this tonight. We got the world's greatest chairperson. Let's give a warm welcome to Nick.
America. Okay, everybody. Welcome home. My name's Nick. I'm an alcoholic. And welcome to the Conscious Contact Speaker of Alcoholics Anonymous. This is a 1-hour speaker meeting. Meets every Saturday evening at St. Paul's Lutheran Church at 301 North Street in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Food and fellowship starts at 8 o'clock, followed by our speaker at 8:30. The business meeting for this group meets every Saturday at 7 p.m. to 7:30 right here. Please come early and join us. The purpose of this group is to provide a consistent message of hope and recovery through God, reliance, and service to others through the practice and teaching of the 12 steps. We record all speakers so that others may benefit from the message of recovery. If you wish not to be recorded, simply ask. And this is an open meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. The group would like to welcome everyone, especially newcomers. Is there anyone new or from out of town that would like to introduce themselves with their first name? Yes, sir.
I'm
Kelvin. 1,000 degrees, 1,000 degrees. Yes, sir. Welcome, Anthony. Yes, hello. AJ, welcome. Okay, and welcome to everybody. The Conscious Contact Speaker Group encourages sponsorship. Would anyone with working knowledge of the 12 steps and is willing to sponsor, please raise your hands? Awesome. Are there any announcements for the good of AA? Yes, sir.
This Monday night, 6 p.m. in this church, right out in the lobby, is a State Line Literature and Step meeting. We have a special guest, Dr. Addicts, coming to speak on Step 11.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. We have other service commitments available. Come see us. We have a couple different treatment center commitments on Tuesday night and also on Sunday. So come see us here. If you're going to be of service, come check it out. It's a great way to stay sober and help somebody in a treatment facility. Okay. Our sister group is a Big Book study meeting. It meets every Thursday at 7:30, and that is just up the street, the Salem UCC Church, 186 East Court Street, and the coffee is on at 6:15. We have meeting lists and big books on easy terms. Please see me or any home group after the meeting. If you cannot afford a big book, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group will give you one at no charge. And anyone willing to make donations for the purchase of big books and CDs who can't afford them can put donations in the jar on the table marked Big Book and CD Donations. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Doylestown, PA, and our Facebook group. Subscribe and share, and you can find our speakers there. Join our Facebook page to keep informed, and you can share upcoming events and also meetings. Okay, and now with that, we have the greatest chairperson in all of AA, Brian, to come up and read our Just for Today Prayer of Recovery. Let's give Brian a warm welcome.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian. I'm an alcoholic. Happy 4th of July weekend. This is Just for Today, a prayer of recovery. Just for today, I will be agreeable. I will look as well as I can, dress becomingly, talk low, act courteously, criticize not one bit, not find fault with anything, and not try to improve or regulate anybody except myself. And with that, I'm going to bring Michael up here. Michael is going to read our AA preamble.
Hi, I'm Michael and I'm an alcoholic. Okay, the AA preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. Okay, I'd like to introduce our Southern Belle from Canada, Kara, to read the 12 steps.
Good evening, y'all. Happy 4th of July, and welcome to CC's special 4th of July celebration. We're all so glad y'all are here. I'd like to read the 12 steps of recovery. Number 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Number 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Number 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. Number 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Number 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Number 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Number 7, humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. Number 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Number 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Number 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we're wrong, promptly amended it. Number 11, sought through prayer and meditation to prove our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. And number 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all of our affairs. Now I'm going to ask Nick to come up and he'll introduce our speaker for tonight. Woohoo!
I want some of that. Okay. Alrighty. We have a 7th tradition which states every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. At this time, I'd like to pass the basket. And we have no dues or fees. We do have expenses, and this group provides many services. Your donations cover food, rent, big books, CDs, events, and workshops, and also nights just like this. We do have a Venmo. The QR code's not on the back table. I have it in my phone here, and if you scan my phone, I'll put it right in my bank account. Okay. All right. There is absolutely no smoking on church property. Please be mindful of that. Please take a moment to silence all cell phones and limit movement during the meeting to avoid distractions. And just a quick thanks to our speaker. It's difficult to be away from your families on holiday weekend, so let's just give Keith a nice warm a round of applause for him coming here on a holiday, taking time. And now to introduce our speaker, a good friend of the Conscious Contact Group. Tonight we have Keith, and he comes all the way from Brooklyn, the Sobriety Plus group of Brooklyn, New York. Let's give him a nice warm welcome.
Yo, how you guys doing? My name's Keith. I'm an alcoholic. Oh my goodness. I'm sitting there and I'm looking. I'm like, there's a lot of things I could do wrong just getting to the microphone, which I did. I heard Keith. I'm like, yeah, it's my turn, like a meerkat, I'm looking at the steps. I'm gonna fall, my God. What a gift it is to come out and spend a Saturday night with you guys, man. I'm not kidding when I say that. I want to thank Ron and this group for having Sobriety Plus come in. My sponsor, my grand sponsor, 3 generations of sobriety, if you will. Before I get into my story at all, I love to just say I'm not sober at all through any of my own merit. I have nothing to do with it. I'll get to the part of my surrender, but the only thing I did as a human being was surrender to God and follow simple instructions laid out right here in the 12 steps of recovery, right? I'd be lying if I told you that, I just stumbled into an AA meeting thinking like, what am I going to do with all these resentments, man? Maybe these guys know what I could do. I never really had a desire to stop drinking until I had a desire to stop drinking. And the craziest thing happened, I drank for like another 10 years. You know what I'm saying? And if that's not the definition of powerlessness, then I really don't know what is. I mean, I guess I could just start, right from the get-go, right? I'm born in a little place called Midwood, Brooklyn, on East 17th and Avenue M. Right on the corner, my mother had me right there, it was a sick time, 1980, you know what I mean? Yeah, she had to go. She was like, that's it, I got things to do, let's get this kid out. Right off the bat, I was born into a mixed religious household, Irish Catholic on my mother, German Jew on my father. You wait till we get to the fourth step, baby. I was like resentment number one, It was strange because I went to Catholic school my whole life. So, we're sitting there talking about Jesus Monday through Friday and the word of the Lord. And then I'm wearing a little thing on my head on Saturday. Like, what the heck happened? You know what I mean? I didn't know what was going on. I did it. And needless to say, I did a lot of fighting in the schoolyard. I went to school with a lot of Italian, Irish Catholics, black, Spanish, you know what I mean? And Miss McLean was always quick. Oh, you want to know about Hanukkah? Ask Keith Becker and Billy Stoll below. So, I'll never forget this kid, Vinny Manuel, man, came up to me in recess and was like, hey, half a Jew. Bang! So, and we were fighting. I learned how to fight early. I was never the biggest guy in the world, you know what I mean? Now, my father was a raging alcoholic, and unfortunately, he is drinking today. I don't know about exactly today, but to this day, he is drinking. He actually lives in Pennsylvania, lives over in Indian Mountain Lake, and because of this God-given fellowship, I was able to go make an amends to him. I hadn't seen him in 25 years. I'll get to that, but just to give you a little quick background. But when, obviously, younger, he was extremely active, extremely violent. My mother divorced him when I was 5. My younger sister, my only sibling, she was probably still in the stroller, or in the carriage, I should say. And, it was scary. He had weekend visits. That's how it worked out with the courts. And then it turned into supervised visits. And by the time I was like in 5th grade, he was showing so drunk that, I'll never forget the one woman. She was I forget her name, but she was so sweet. And she's like, Mr. Beck, you're just too inebriated to see your kids. And that was one of the last times I seen him until the time that I'm talking about, It used to pain me to say this part of my story, but it doesn't today, right? Because it's just the honest to God truth. I felt a sense of relief. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have to go to that place anymore. Like, I had to go because, the courts, they gave him rights, you know what I mean? And it was a very scary situation. I say that it pains me because I'm a dad, you know what I'm saying? So I have a 17-year-old boy who is acting very 17, by the way. He was on sale on Facebook Marketplace, comes fully equipped, attitude, full head of hair, yeah. High school struggles, puberty, yeah. No, he's my pride and joy. I actually, when I take some speaking commitments like this, I wear. He got me this watch for one Father's Day, and he got me this in sobriety. And I get choked up because it said best friends. And this was a young man that wanted nothing to do with me towards the end of my drinking. I mean, nothing to do with me. So we go back to now, I feel like I'm in a safe place, right? We're living at my grandparents', my mother's parents, and it's a very calm, collective household. And I don't have to go back to that place anymore. And I'm about 11 or 12, and from that point, man, I love girls, baseball, and hockey. Like, in that order, girls, baseball, hockey, and I swore, and I hear this part of my story all the time, which continues to show me that I'm not unique, right? Is I would never be like him. I would never be like him until I picked up a drink, It didn't happen right away, I think one of my first drinks, I'm not proud of this part of my story, I think one of my first real drinks was like a Zima that, my boy stole from his mother's fridge, you know what I mean? He's like, yo, it's like 7-Up with a kick, bro, and gave us nothing but a headache. It was like instant bubbles. What the heck are these people doing? You know what I mean? And, but yeah, no, I didn't like the smell of alcohol. I knew it from my dad. I could smell it if there was a can on the street. We played ball in the schoolyard. I really didn't like it. And so here comes high school, right? I'm playing baseball. I'm playing hockey for my school. And I have a girlfriend, That's the big three, right? Girls, baseball, and hockey. And I have a girlfriend. And while other kids started to dip and dab with booze, I actually did stay away. I didn't like it. I loved playing baseball. I thought I was going to go pro. I was going to be the next Ken Griffey Jr. You couldn't tell me I was wearing my hat backwards like he did. That was big, right? Remember Griffey? He's wearing the hat backwards. Everyone was in an uproar, Meanwhile, I was like, yo, this guy's got it, right? Sweetest swing, man. And until this one beautiful summer night like tonight, it was summertime, must have been 1996, because I was going into junior year of high school. And one of the older kids from the park had like an Iowa deck with the CD and the tape, and you could tape off the radio or off a CD. Like, yeah, that was big, right? And Ghostface's first album, and Winter Wars, was playing. And I'll never forget it, man. And I was like, yeah, Ray is killing it and all this and that. And the older kids came back with beer. And they gave me and my boys some 40s, Old English and Crazy Horse. And oh man, when I tell you this was my I had arrived moment, man. I arrived. Because while I just sat here for the first bit and told you how much I hated alcohol, the smell of it, the older kids recognizing us in the park was huge. I remember telling Cyril, like, yo, Ralph, he bought me a 40, bro. He was like, drink it. I was like, yeah. And I drank it hard. I drank it fast. I hated the taste of it. It was so bitter. And then I loved it. And it went down quick. It was ice cold. And I browned out, because I do remember a couple of different parts of that night to this day. So we had all lied, like, to our parents, right? Like good kids. We all lied that we were sleeping over, like, each other's house. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I'm sleeping at John's. John said he was sleeping at Cyril. Cyril said he was sleeping at my house, so we could break night. Now, I was so drunk, I had to go home. We had nowhere to go. I couldn't chill in the park. It was hot. I was like, I gotta go home. So I come in, and my mother was like, it's like, you okay, this and that? And I'll never forget, I was laying on the bed. I was laying like this. I was like, yo, where's the fan? And the fan was right here, blowing on me, And she was like, oh, no. And I was like, oh, yeah. You know what I mean? And the next morning, boy, did I get it, man. She was so pissed. She called Pat, my boy's mother, and we all got grounded. We were 15 getting grounded. It was a little different back then. Parents really talked. Like, they talked. They knew everything and about each other and us. And so I was grounded. But I remember my mother scolding me, saying some really terrible words to me. She said, I bet you somebody would call it out if I asked, right? There's no crosstalk here, but she said, you're just like your father. Oh, man, son, I was so angry. I was so, I had this rage in me that built up, and I never, ever, even through all my drinking and, escapades, if you will, I never got physical with my mom. My mom did a lot for me. I respected her a lot, but that really hurt. It really, really hurt. But I still couldn't wait to do it again. And so let's just say it's at this time of that summer, right? Did it a couple of more times, drinking, in the park, playing handball now, starting to master it a little bit too. No, let's not pound that whole 40. So I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, let's get that buzz that I felt at first. And I kind of did. I kind of knew how to now, at this young age, how to drink and get to the point that I wanted to get to. And junior year comes. And I went from about a B student, rocking the varsity baseball team, on the hockey team, right? We were a first-year hockey team in Brooklyn. We were getting waxed, man, by other schools. They were sending, like, their C teams at us. Forget a B team. They're like, yeah, go play these kids. But we were getting better. I didn't even go out for that team. I didn't go out for my squad that October. My grades fell so bad, my mother took me out. I had just told you I went to Catholic school my entire life, so now she put me in public school, James Madison over on Bedford Avenue. I'm not expecting anybody to know what the heck I'm talking about. I'm saying it like we all live around the corner from it, right? Yeah, over there on Bedford, And, I learned the word cut. Like, you can cut, and they, like, in Catholic school in the 90s, if you thought about cutting, your mother called, like I heard you were thinking, it's like, how did she know? Like, they knew, But here I am now, and I started to cut class, and I was drinking. Man, were we drinking. It was a lot of fun, but I really started to act out at that age, and I didn't go out for baseball now. Now it's April, junior year. My grades are terrible. I go to summer school. Not to mention my girlfriend, who I really did love, my high school sweetheart. We dated for 7 years. Absolutely hated my drinking. Hated it from the jump. From the jump. She was like, you change. You're like black and white. You're like night and day. You change, right? Hence, what do we call Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right? And I could never really like see it. I'm like, what? I'm having a good time. We're all getting drunk. And I always got into a fight with her. But she also is like the first human being like I flat out lied to about my drinking. Like I just told you we lied to our moms, like we told those little lies, but that's mom, like there's fear there, you know, and of course I come to find out that I've been lying to myself, right? But we're talking 15, 16. But I'm talking, Nicole was a person right here. You're drinking. No, I'm not. And I mean, there's beer on me, and I'm taking it to the grave, man, you know? And I did that for a very long time. I could not get honest about my drinking for a very long time. I mean, it eluded me. There's no other better adjective than honesty eluding me. And, you know, so my grades got so bad, and I continued to cut in senior year. I had an option to do something my son just had the courage and the will to do. It was January senior year. I had to take night classes and I had to go to summer school, and I would have graduated in August. Or you can take your GED. Now, you talk about alcoholic thinking at a young age. I was like, the easy way out? Sure, I'll do it. And then, you know, 2 months of GED classes, I aced it. It was a 2-day class. 2 days, 4 hours each day. Aced it. And now I'm home. Mom's working, sister's in school. Everybody's finishing up their year. It's like March. And that's when I started really drinking by myself at a young age, 16, right? No, 17. 16-ounce Budweisers playing GoldenEye on 64 at 10 a.m. You know, who does that, man? Yeah, chilling. Yeah. You know, I mean, when I heard I would freak out, like, yeah, all by myself. Like, you talk about legend in your own mind, right? I mean, my goodness. And I always hid my empties in the hamper. You know, I share this. It's just the honest to God truth. Yeah, always in the hamper. I drank cans of beer, so it muffled the sound. Needless to say, there could have been a sock like in the hamper, like, Ma, I got laundry, you know. She's like, where you going? You got a sock. I'm like, no. And I'm throwing out the empties, you know. But that's what I did. That's what I did. And, you know, my mother was obviously wise to it, just like I'm wise to the things my son is doing now. You know, at that age, you think you're getting away with it, right? But mom knows. And I went to college. Went to community college. It's called Kingsborough Community in Brooklyn. And I just bring this quick part of my story up, too, because now here we go again. I actually did really well my first semester. But I start to cut college, something I'm paying for now, right? And now my grades slip again. And now my girlfriend is mad at me. And my mom won't give me any money because she knows I'm going to drink with it. So now I say I got to start working. And you see this like vicious cycle, you know what I'm saying? That's just whirling around in my head. I have friends that are kind of doing the same thing, but I know today that they weren't. They're partying, but they stopped. They got jobs. My other friends are putting their education and partying on the weekends, but they're going to class on a Wednesday, you know? And it's just always been my alcoholic behavior. And again, I share this too, I put money, we didn't grow up with much, you know? We had enough. We always had food on the table. It wasn't that kind of, I didn't know where my next meal was coming from kind of living, you know what I'm saying? But I couldn't get $5 from my mother. So I started to work as a busboy and then as a waiter. And needless to say, I worked in hospitality for about 14 years. And it's just so amazing how an alcoholic like myself finds this, at a young age, this profession where drinking is so socially acceptable while you're working. Forget just the wine flights and we're going to pair this with the fish tonight. We're talking like the whole crew is getting really drunk. You know, let's get really smashed before the 5 o'clock rush. You know what I'm saying? And it just went, man. And I started to make really good money. And my education, I said, you know what? I don't need to complete college. I'm making at the time in 1999, I'm making like $600-700 cash a week, right? That was a lot of money, you know? I don't need to live here, Mom, like it turned into that, you know? Meanwhile, she would smack the crap out of me, right? But, so she moves down to Virginia and I move out and I get my own place and it was Party Central. And my mother moved back from Virginia. And she never said it, but I believe she saw what was happening in my apartment. And she moved back, and I moved back in with her, my sister, and my stepfather. And this went on for a couple of years, just the same shenanigans. But that girlfriend I was telling you about, she finally left me, you know. Boo-hoo, right? Poor me. Oh, man. Nicole left me a drunk with zero outlook on the future, you know, from her perspective, right? Looking at me. And you think I would have been upset. Our families were very close. We talked, no proposals or anything. We talked of marriage, you know. We were kids. Dated from 15 to 22. I was 22. And you think I would have been upset, right? Nope. Here's that one person that was consistently lying to, I did not have to lie to anymore. And man, I was working on 86th Street and Madison Avenue in Manhattan. I was working in the city now, and we tore up the Upper East Side. You know, a bunch of college kids that had no clue how to fight. You know, but a whole lot of, you know, polo shirts, and I forgot what those deck shoes are called and stuff. But man, did we have a good time. Me and my whole crew. And I had nobody to lie to. And I'm over 21 now, you know. Not giving my mom any money, right? Not trying to help out. Not promising maybe I have a future, her one and only son, right? And that went on for about a year. And you know what happened? I hit a brick wall, man. I hit my first brick wall. I was working in that restaurant, and I was coming out from like a stupor, if you will, lack of a better adjective, right? I mean, I was really coming out of it. I was like, yeah, oh my God. And I was getting dressed and getting ready and showering up really quick. And my mother comes in, and she's looking at me. She's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm getting ready for work. Now, my mother smoked at the time, and she had a Kent 300. And yeah, half ash. You don't work Sundays. You ready to ask for some help? And I was like, oh my God. I thought it was Saturday. I drank a whole day away. It was my first, oh my God thought. And I said, yeah. And she went and flicked her cigarette, and she was like, okay. She's like, yeah. So she called my great Uncle Joe. Turns out AA is pretty big in my family. Who would have known, right? So she calls my grandfather's brother, my great Uncle Joe, God rest his soul. And he said to me, he said, Keith, you think you can go about 5 days without a drink? I said, yeah. I said, absolutely, Uncle Joe. He's like, okay. And 5 days went, and he obviously made some arrangements, and he brought me up to a place that is no longer in business. It was called Veritas Villa in Kerhonkson, New York. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And Jim and Sue Cusack, the Fish Bowl, and you know, I was young, right? Can I move this a little bit? Okay. Maybe I shouldn't. We'll just leave it. So, yeah, because that's exactly what I'll do. I'll kick it. No, it's okay. So, no, because I noticed that I got my hands going, and I don't want to accidentally just kick it off, you know? Thank you so much. See, it's all about me, right? It's all about the drunk, right? So I go up there, 28 days. Fishbowl, the whole nine. Oh my God, Sundays, Mom coming up. You know, really, it was really like a special on Prime now, right? They have all these don't trust this neighbor, and child didn't make it. You know, it was like all these kind of shows that are on Prime now, and that's what it looked like, right? So she comes up, and I'm super embarrassed, but I remember feeling pretty good. And she's like, you look amazing. And my counselor, his name was Steve, he said something very profound when they left. She goes, he said, your mother is getting the best sleep that she's had in a very long time. And at first, I was like, how you know how my mom was sleeping? You know what I'm saying? Right? I was upset. I was like, how do you know? No, but I understood. I did. I got it, I was like, see, you can't trust these people up here, man. I'm in the woods, and that hit me, I slept on that, and I was very grateful. I did. Like I had said, it completely changed me immediately, alcohol, and I didn't want to be that guy anymore. However, I was that guy that we read about in the big book, our good buddy Fred, right? Thank you for the information, I'm good. And you know what's coming, sooner or later a highball will be fine, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't drink a highball, but I went about 2.5 years without a drink. What a great time in my life that was. So that was, my original sobriety date is April 24, 2004. Okay? I'll get to my actual sobriety date. It is not that, but that's how long ago I'm 23, turning 24 at that time. I felt really good. Started hitting the gym again, right? All these very human things. You ever hear those other 3 big suggestions? You know, there's always the big 5. You ever hear the big 3, like what not to do, like within your first year of sobriety, or maybe just before you go through this process? Don't move. Please don't get in a relationship if you're not in one, right? Don't get in a relationship, and don't switch careers, you know? Fresh out of rehab, I got a job. 6 months later, I started dating my son's mother, and I got my own place, and I moved, you know? And so come to find out, I did everything incorrectly back then with absolutely no guidance. But I didn't pick up a drink. Irene and I fell in love really hard. That's my son's mother's name. That's actually my fiance's name. She's such a huge part of my life today. It's wonderful. It's a gift, and I will get to that. But we fell in love hard, and then after a year, we moved in together. And after another year, we got our own place because we were living with her sister and her sister's boyfriend. Saved up some cash. You know how that is. We were paying like $600 a month rent, man, between both of us. So we were just stacking everything, and we got this apartment, and we started to talk about having a child. And I had no defense against the first drink. I was working in this, I was working in Bed, New York. It's literally what it says. It's a nightclub, right? That has beds for tables, Tempur-Pedic mattresses, and Wendy Williams was hosting a party. Now, mind you, she was still just on radio, so her party was bumping. And we were cashing out. We were at the POS station cashing out. And man, again, here's another moment in my life that I just cannot forget, even if I tried, right? So if anybody's worked in a restaurant or just seen like a POS station, you have a computer system, and then you have like checkbooks and stuff, and this is where I was doing my paperwork. And right next to me, it's like it appeared, glass, crystal clean pitcher of raspberry mojito, fresh. And I'm telling you, it's like there was light shining on it. You know what I'm saying? Like right on it. You know, the mint was floating like in sequence with the raspberries. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like cashing out and I'm checking out and I'm like, what? I was like, no, I can't. No. Start talking. I was like, no, you promise? Okay, fine. Just this one time. You know what I mean? And I took a little glass. And I tasted it. Mind you, I just told you I'm a beer drinker. All right, this is like straight rum. I never drank, I hated liquor, even to the end of my drinking. I just could not stand, I couldn't stomach liquor. You know what it was, man? It's Mobb Deep's fault. They went on that whole Bacardi Lime kick, right? That whole, Bacardi Lime, and that's all we did was drink Bacardi Lime and throw up every night for like a week straight. I was like, yo, man, Prodigy, don't know what the hell they're talking about. Hey, drinking that, going back to my Bud Ice. You know what I'm saying? It was terrible. So needless to say, I finished the whole pitcher. I black out. Irene has never seen me drunk. I wake up butt ball naked on my bathroom floor. She comes in, what the heck happened? And I get up like, I was going to ask you, like, what the heck happened last night? You know what I mean? It's unbelievable. And needless to say, this is how sick this is, right? Needless to say, in 5 days, I was sneaking tall boys in, hiding them in the hamper. I wasn't playing GoldenEye at the time. Now I was playing Call of Duty. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, at PS3, I was online. You know what I mean? And instant, just chaos. And, there were some violent moments, but I'm very grateful it was never, like, violent. That's just not part of my story, and that's it's fine if it is yours. We don't compare here. But the mental and spiritual destruction I was doing so now I'm 26, and now Irene is pregnant, by the way. All right, now we're supposed to be building a family, and she's like, what the heck are you doing? Again, I'm hiding it. I'm perfect. It's not me, it's you. And, all these wonderful things that go in my alcoholic mind. I'll spare you. Some of the stories aren't great, but I will tell you that I was coming to one day, and our son, who had come about, God, he's wonderful. He was a wonderful baby. He really was. He was just awesome. 6 months of terror. He didn't sleep. First 6 months was horrible. I mean, I was like, I remember calling my mother crying, not drinking. It's just in the bathroom. What do I do with it? I can kill this thing. It's not eating. He doesn't have to poop. What am I, you know what I mean? But after that 6 month period, I mean, he just turned into like this new baby. He was just so yummy. He's huge too. He was, I don't know what we were eating. He was 9'3" at birth. I was like, oh, are you sure that's mine? My God, it's like my leg, you know? He was huge. So here I am coming out again, a stupor. There's that word again, right? I'm coming out of a stupor and coming to, except now she's leaving with Brandon saying, look, very famous words too, right? I'm telling you, I live like all the cliches. She literally was walking down the hallway, look, you're a grown man, you can do whatever you want, but we're not gonna watch you kill yourself, and she left. So I call my mother. Now my mother puts me in touch with her brother, my Uncle James, who was sober around 9 years. And you know, I resented this for a long time. So I'm in the Bronx at the time. I'm still in the Bronx now, but I lived in the Bronx on Tremont. It's about an hour and a half train ride to get out to Brooklyn, where I'm from. And you know, he met me with that kind of look that, yeah, you know, almost like a we've been expecting you kind of look, like, you know, saving you a seat, right? Which I didn't know anything about yet, but that was the look he had. I didn't like it. I didn't like it one bit, right? Now he had a meeting book, right? So he gave me my first meeting book. I still have that meeting book, you know what I do? And so now I take the train back home. I don't look at that book one bit, the whole ride home. It's an hour and a half ride. You'd think I'd have looked at it, right? No, I'm angry. Irene left. Man, Brandon, I don't know what to do, right? All right, so watch this. I get off the train. I'm about a half a block from my apartment. I said, let me look at this book. So I take the book out. I'm looking. It's got every borough. So I'm like, Bronx, all right, Bronx, boom. Turns out there is a beginner meeting at 6 p.m. at what is named the Tremont Group. They're still in business, 79 years I think they just celebrated, right? I go to them frequently, they're near my apartment. However, I am 50 feet from the church, 50 feet, and I'm looking, I'm like, oh my God, and it's like 5:30. Do I go? What do I do? They talked about this in the villa. Yeah, that's right, AA, yeah, okay. All right, cool. Now, I walk in, Irene was there. I said, what are you doing there? And I was happy, you know? I said, where's Brandon? She's like, no, her mother was alive at the time. She's like, I left Brandon with mommy. She's like, I heard about this thing. I'm happy. Like, you're gonna go to these meetings or something? There's like, I don't know, you got a book? Is there a book or something you got? She has no idea what's going on, you know? She's like, when did they happen? Now, it's happening in 20 minutes. I was like, yeah, nah, nothing till Monday. You know what I mean? I think there's a group on Monday. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go check it out on Monday. And, you know, I instantly lied about that to her, and she believed it because she knew nothing of AA, and I actually didn't either at the time. I really didn't. But that started my Alcoholics Anonymous journey. Okay, I joined that group, the Tremont group, and I put together a year. In big quotes, I put together a year, and I think I drank the day after my anniversary, which I wasn't even showing up to my home group like a month prior, and I was in and out for a long time. That was in 2009. That was in 2009. Yeah, because my son was about turning 2. And I could almost stop there with like my AA run, right? But I used it as a shield. I used it as like, you know, when it got bad again, I'm gonna go to the rooms. I'm gonna give that another shot. And Irene would buy it, and I wouldn't drink for some time. Except I really didn't join a group again for quite a few years. I'll tell you how sick it got though, right? So I was showing up to meetings very drunk. I was a wet drunk in the meetings. Well, I'm grateful I am today. I mean, lying through my teeth 36 days, and they're like, yo, keep coming, you know what I mean? Like, come on, you know? Should have seen me on Zoom, man. Oh my God, Zoom. What a disaster. I used to have my phone being held up by the Bud Ice can. You know what I'm saying? And I'd be like, you know, like this. I'd be moving, now I'm moving around and I'm cooking, and everyone would be angry because my Keith, stop moving your phone, please. Somebody would chime in. And I would lie to people too. People would start calling me like, Keith, are you okay? And I'm like, why? You're like, no, you. And before they could say anything, I'm like, no, is it the connection? It's my bandwidth, you know what I mean? And I remember this guy, George, he's a big part of my sobriety. I remember him going, honey, the bandwidth doesn't make your eyes cross. And I was like, oh no. So then I would run into people, because COVID started to like lighten up a little bit, and people would actually remember that meeting. And I'd run into, they're like, why didn't you just shut your camera off? I'm like, but then that looks suspicious. They're like, yeah, but you're smashed on camera. You know what I mean? So it was a no-win situation. Yeah, it was terrible. Anyway, that was 2020. That was it's a lot more recent than where I am. But see, I always, I heard a lot of, and I don't want to put this down, but I heard a lot of, don't drink, go to meetings, right? I did. God bless you. It works. And I started to take it like, okay, I'm going to drink and not go to a meeting. Or, I won't drink, but then I'm not, or I'll drink and come to a meeting. You know what I mean? I really did start to come to meetings extremely drunk. Like, that same guy, George, told me, and it was really some of the best advice he ever gave me. He said, Keith, even if you drink, man, get your butt to a meeting. So just get your butt to a meeting, man. Trust me, this is like Planet Fitness, judgment-free zone. Just please, just get, and it's almost like I was like, challenge accepted, bang, showing up, you know what I mean? And misannouncing people's like anniversaries, like Keith Alcohol, Tara celebrates 17 years, and my boy Joe leans in, he's like, it's 7 years, bro. I'm like, 7 years, you know what I mean? Like, I was just really, and nobody ever told me to leave. They didn't. I mean, I guess I was not disruptive to that point where I had to be told, look, you're disrupting the meeting. All people kept telling me is who's driving. First of all, they were talking amongst themselves, like who's giving him a lift home? Who's going to pick him up tomorrow for another meeting? Okay? Who's going to make sure tomorrow he's okay, And, I mean, it got to the point, too, where, like, I would tell Irene, I didn't have a car at the time. So let's say, so you know where Panera Bread is, just to give you a geographic? So let's say this is my apartment, and the meeting is by Panera Bread. It's a nice little walk, right? I would go there and start drinking at bodegas around that meeting. Like, that's what I would do, just to kill time. So it's like I really walked to the meeting, and then really walked back. And I remember I'd come in so drunk, and Irene's like, I thought you're supposed to not drink. Like, you're coming in more drunk, And it really... It was very embarrassing, Another quick thing is I coming in, and somebody had given me the Al-Anon book, and I came in after that meeting so smashed with the book of Al-Anon going, I heard you're spiritually sick too, and I'm telling you, I turned around, that book was flying in my head. Bang, what do you mean I'm sick, you're drunk, you know what I mean? Always putting it on somebody else, right? That was so good to do that. I was so good to put my alcoholism on somebody else. So it's real. Isn't it sick, right? Isn't it sick? Here's a woman that's staying with me behind me, right? And I'm telling her she's sick, Really, it's not normal. So what happens? COVID does happen. I was always able to put a little bit of time together. My longest without God's grace and without surrendering to God on my own recognizances was a little over 2 years. A little under 2 years. I had drank right before my 2-year anniversary. Oh man, I sat in on that meeting 7 days, you know what I mean? Because everyone was looking for me. They're like, you better be there. This is about humility. You get in there. It's going to help somebody that may be lying about their drinking. And I did. And I hated it, but I did. So through God's grace, I never left AA. But what really happens, right? Well, I started to show up to meetings very drunk early 2022. By July of 2022, I was exiled from the Bronx back to Brooklyn by my mother. She pulled me out of the apartment, I swear to God, like a principal. It was really embarrassing, 41 years old, and she's like, you're not playing nice with these people, my wife and my son. And she pulled me back to her house, and she's like, you can stay on this couch, because I was not allowed to see my son, who was 14 at the time. She's like, you're not allowed to see. I didn't even mention this. My mother is a licensed social worker. No matter what, if I'm a son, doesn't matter. If she knows of some kind of abuse or drinking, she has to say something. So I didn't even know I'm putting my mother's license. She went to Fordham University, man. It was really expensive, And I'm putting all that on the line every time I had the nerve to pick up a drink. But here she is, pulling me out. And the plan was I needed to go to AA in Brooklyn, and I had to put some time together, and then I'd be able to see Brandon again. Well, I wish I could tell you I stopped drinking right then and there, but I didn't. But I did go to AA, and I met these two fine people. I walked into a group called the Sheepshead Bay Group, beaten up. And I continued to drink, and I continued to go to meetings. And the very last time I was drunk in a meeting, these two gentlemen said something to me that was extremely profound. First of all, my grad sponsor said to me, he goes, Keith, I want to tell you something. You continue drinking, everything you have in your life is an absolute illusion. That job you're holding on to, that couch you're sleeping on, whatever kind of relationship you think you have with Irene or Brandon, it's an illusion. And right after that, my sponsor came up to me and said, look, he goes, one or two things are going to happen. You're going to drink yourself to death, or you're going to surrender to God and adopt these principles. There was no don't drink and go to meetings, which again isn't terrible advice. It's actually good advice. You know, just a sick and suffering alcoholic may not want to hear that. But I got hit with two words, illusion and surrender to God. The next day I drank, right? The next day I was drinking, and it stuck with me. And I had just had knee surgery, and, you know, just bursitis, they just cleaned it out, the bursa. So it wasn't major, but I really couldn't move too much. So needless to say, I was able to drink a little bit in the morning, right? This is at my mom's, just remind you. So my mother was having some family over, my aunts and uncles, for dinner, and I couldn't, the reason I bring up the knee is I couldn't get to the store to continue drinking. They watched me like a hawk, you know? I just couldn't do it, couldn't hobble, you know? Where you going, Keith? Nowhere. Smoked a cigarette, you know, on the porch, you know what I mean? And I knew that she was going to give my family a ride home, so there was light for me at the end of the tunnel. And that was like 9 o'clock. Let me tell you, it was like the worst 6 hours of my life. That was like from 3 to 9. I couldn't continue drinking. But I had a plan. When my mother left, I had $5. I was going to go into the corner store, pound a tall boy, and then bring 2 tall boys back in the hamper, right? By the way, I had the nerve to be flirting with some girls on Facebook, by the way, at this time. Can you imagine? You know, you want to come by my mom's house, sit on the couch, we can Netflix, hamper beer, you know what I'm saying, and just chill. Like, oh, come on, man. That is not appealing. You know, meanwhile, you know that drunk fam on some of it. Yo, you know, yeah, okay. So my mother does just that. She gets the troops together and she left the house, man. And I'm telling you now, I stepped out onto my mother's porch and I'm looking at the corner and I was completely broken. And there was nothing on my mind. No Irene, no Brandon, no job, no AA, nothing. Just, I cannot do this anymore. I cannot do this anymore. And the craziest thing happened. On a day that I had been drinking, on a day that the allergy completely had me, forget the mental obsession at this point, man. I got booze in me, man. It is the booze running the show now, you know? I turned around and walked back into my mother's house. And I know that that was the hand of God, that was God's grace saying, there you go. Now watch what I could do. Now the next day I was like, what the heck happened? I couldn't believe it. I just abruptly stopped drinking and I felt fantastic the next day. The knee felt good. I didn't feel like drinking. I didn't. I had like a little nest in my mother's house, so I started to clean the little nest, you know, the couch. Yeah, did the floors and everything. And the next day, I ran back to AA. I ran to Big Book by the Bay. It's a double header. They do a big book at 5 o'clock, and a beginner meeting at 6:30. And I stayed for that double header. I seen Ralphie, my sponsor. He said these words to me. He said, you look a little more calm today. I said, I am. I said, I refrained from like talking about that experience in the beginning because I was so full of crap for so long, you know, but I knew something was at work. So I was able to do something I had not been able to do in an extremely long time. I was honest. I was very honest. And I made meetings. And I started to work with my sponsor on my 21st day. And he tore up the 164, man. I'm talking, tore it up. It took me 2 months to write my fourth step. And man, did I love writing my fourth step because, I'm an electrician, right? So I got like supply rooms in my buildings that I service. So I had no privacy at my mother's house. My sister was there. There was somebody there all the time. And I'm in the supply rooms like writing, Mom, you know, all right, that affected me sexually, socially, but what's my part? Well, I drank alcohol, and there it is, that's my part. You know what I mean? It was absolutely eye-opening. Prayer and a pen and pad. And then I brought my fifth to my sponsor. I brought my fourth. We did a fifth. He goes, no, congratulations. You suffer from terminal uniqueness. I said, what? But I understand what he meant today. I do. I understand that. I do. And I was to go home and practice exactly what the 6th and 7th step tell me. And the reason I bring this point up is because God was working in my life. It's just undeniable. Now, I've been at my mother's for 9 months at this time. To give you a little breakdown. 9 months, every single time. 3 months of drinking, now about 6, 7 months not drinking. In AA. Every time I come home from a meeting, all the lights are on. My stepfather's downstairs. He's snapping out the Yankees. My sister's watching something. My mother's in her back. She has a knitting room, right? And I told him, I was like, look, I don't think I'm going to be able to get that hour. You know, we're supposed to sit with God for an hour, think about what just transpired, to ask myself these questions. Have I been completely honest up until this point? No stone unturned. I had an old sponsor tell me when I was riding my fort, he's like, you got to get down in the basement behind the furnace, bro, and get that area. You know what I mean? And I felt like I did. So he says, so my sponsor suggests, he goes, okay, if you can't, it's too busy. He's like, say your prayers, think about it 2 seconds, and then go to sleep. Wake up an hour earlier. He's like, wake up an hour earlier for work and spend that time with God. And I said, okay. When I got home that night after the meeting, for the first time in 9 months, every light was off. Every light except my lamp. My lamp was the only lamp on. Are you kidding me? I walked in like, oh my God. First of all, the door was left unlocked. That was never, Mom, it's me. No, I'm sober. Yes, Keith. My social security is, you know what I mean? Like I had to prove I wasn't drinking, you know what I mean? The door was left unlocked and I went in and I practiced my 7-step prayer, or I practiced my 7-step officially, if you will, right? Because this really is ongoing. And these things started to happen to me. If you're here and you're denying putting this first, putting God first, how is that going to pay my bills? How is that going to build a relationship with my family or myself? Everything that was supposed to just start happening started to happen. Trust was instilled back into my life. Irene started to ask me to come up and spend time with Brandon on days I wasn't even thinking about. I actually would have like a speaking commitment, you know, and she's like, you can come up today if you want. You know what I'm saying? I'm going over my sister's. And I'd say, okay, and I do the speaking commitment. I take the train back up to the Bronx. You want to crash here tonight? Because I work in the city. So she's like, you just go to work from here and then go back to your mother's from Manhattan, you know? Another big one was my mother. So my stepfather was diagnosed with lung cancer about a year ago. And, you know, it was scary. He's completely cool now. You know, they did the surgery. They removed the tumor. They did... it was a biopsy, did a biopsy, and no cancer cells as of right now, thank God, right? Okay. But when he was getting out, my mother gave me a call and was like, can you pick Phil up? I mean, I'm telling you, I almost dropped my phone. Like, my mother's trusting me to go pick her husband up after a major surgery like that. Part of me thinks she didn't really want to see him anyway, you know what I mean? They have a weird relationship. But, you know, still, she called me. She didn't call my aunt, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's amazing, you know? I'm serious. It really, really is. And just God's work was undeniable. So, just real quick, my sobriety date is October 28, 2022. That's when that day happened, where I'm telling you, God intervened. Or I surrendered, honestly. I could swear I surrendered 1,000 times, but I guess that one was pure, and that was the one he was looking for some odd reason. Now, I'll ask him one day. But for right now, I'm very happy. And I hope that part of my story never changes. And a service like this, I want to thank you guys. For me to come out here, just an ununique drunk from Brooklyn, grew up playing ball, 40s in the park, Wu-Tang Mob Deep. No, seriously, just normal. Just that, and everybody else went on. And it was like, you know, now it's like 2010, I'm like 40s in the park, Wu-Tang. It's like, nah, man, no, what are you doing? You got kids, you got like a union job, you know what I'm saying? It's like, every time I put this first, and I say thank you to God, I'm blessed with another day. What could I do to help another alcoholic? And I really hope I help somebody here tonight. And my name is Keith, and I'm an alcoholic.
Okay, again, my name's Brian. I'm an alcoholic. First and foremost, the group wants to thank Keith for coming out here, delivering an incredible message of hope and recovery to our group here. A couple quick announcements and we'll close down the meeting. We have food and fellowship starting every week at 8 o'clock. Feel free to get here early, enjoy the refreshments we put out. If you do want to get involved with some service, like Nick was talking about, this group is all about service. We do have a commitment tomorrow night at a treatment center. You can see me, see Ron, see any home group member if you'd be interested in information about that. It is customary for us to thank our speakers. They do come here on their own time and expense, so we usually do form a line in the front here, and we thank our speakers personally. If you want to help us out with a little service after the meeting, we could always use help putting the chairs away. And thanks to everybody for helping out with the meeting tonight. Thanks for Gary helping out in the kitchen back there. Thanks to our speaker, our greeters, our readers, and let's thank our speaker, Keith, one more time. If you do care to join us, we have a beautiful way of closing. We are going to circle up and close with our Lord's Prayer. We'll close down with a brief moment of silence for the still sick and suffering alcoholic inside and outside of these rooms, followed by our Lord's Prayer. Our Father,